A very warm hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Pradeep Sengupta and we will talk about the analysis of MICAT-2 this year. If you look at the overall paper pattern, my friends, MICAT-2, it was not very different from that of MICAT-1. If we talk about whether we were in for a big surprise this year, there was none, I think, because all the surprise element was there in MICAT-1 when we had to face 8 option per question. So that was a conundrum that we faced in MICAT-1. This year, more or less, we were ready for the same thing to happen, and we also had the same kind of structure in MICAT-2. So primarily, it was the same structure as that of the last year. There were 3 sections, A, B, and C. We had psychometric test, 150 questions, 30 minutes for allotted, negative marking, there was none. Descriptive test, essay writing test, 4 questions, 25 minutes, negative marking, there was none. Convergent and divergent thinking, 20 questions, verbal ability, 20 questions, quantitative ability and data interpretation, 20 questions, and general awareness, 20 questions. That was section C for us. 80 questions overall. We could navigate through the section, and the negative marking that each question carried was 0.25. That was the paper pattern, my friends, for MICAT-2. If we look at the psychometric test category, it was largely a situation-based psychometric test wherein we had to do a lot of situation analysis. So broadly, the questions tested the students on openness to creativity, their innovation, their whether or not they had new ideas, and there was some new questions based on science and art. For example, there was a question like, can science and art go hand in hand? Or can science and art go together? So such questions were really amazing and interesting. So overall, the psychometric test, I found the section to be quite equally poised, and the students might have found this section pretty interesting. If we talk about the descriptive test, the essay writing test, let me take you back to MICAT-1. MICAT-1, the essay topics in the previous MICAT, they were a bit on the trickier side, and we had a harrowing time dealing with the topics. But this year, surprisingly, the question pattern, the type of question asked, they were quite moderate, and there was much to be written about. We could write about the questions, we could write a lot about the topics. Like there was a topic on convenience is supreme. We had to write 3 points for the topic and 3 points against the topic. And then there was a question, 3 steps a manager should take to ensure how to work at his convenience, at the same time keeping his stakeholders at ease. So if you see these questions, we could have written a lot about these topics. And if you look at the picture composition question, there were 4 questions. One question, mob which looks like a human face, that was the image. Then there was an image of a woman lying dead on the ground with color coming out of her mouth and a photographer next to her. Then there was an image, a lot of birds, and the background was black, and another image with one bird in the sky. So the idea was to bring out the symbolism, connect the dots, and write a meaningful composition. So overall, the descriptive test pattern, this structure was also quite interesting and amazing. At least I found this section to be easy enough, and much could have been written. If you look at the divergent and convergent reasoning, this structure, divergent and convergent thinking section, I found this section to be a bit surprising because there were quite a few questions that could well vacillate between moderate and difficult. 4 questions were based on word association, my friends. 4 questions based on word association that checked your vocabulary and knowledge of words. 3 questions were based on critical reasoning. 1 was on assumption-based question and the other one was conclusion-based question. If you talk about the LOD, it was quite on the easier side. If you look at the grouping of words, right, 1 question was based on grouping of words. I found the question to be quite moderate. Verbal reasoning structure, this section was in for a surprise. We were in for a surprise as far as the non-verbal reasoning section is concerned. 3 questions were based on visual reasoning, 2 on coding and decoding, 3 questions were based on roots, 2 questions were based on mathematical reasoning. That was a bit surprising. 1 question a piece on circular arrangement and matrix arrangement. So overall, if we look at the non-verbal reasoning section, my friends, it would vacillate between moderate and difficult. Now, if we look at the verbal ability section, there were 2 parajumble based questions, 5 sentences each. It was quite on the easier side. I found the parajumble questions pretty doable. There was nothing surprising about these questions. 3 RC passages were there. One passage, it was 150 word long, had 2 questions. The other passage was just 50 words long, 2 questions. And the last passage, it was 350 word long, had 5 questions. The brain, the RC passage that concerns the brain, it was on brain. It was a moderate topic. It was quite a moderate topic. And one could read through the passages easily and you could drive home the answers also quite easily. So overall, the RC passage, the level of difficulty as far as the RCs are concerned, were quite on the easier side, whereas some of you might find the level to be moderate enough. One part that caught my attention was 2 questions that were based on match the column. They were antonym based questions. I found the questions, the words used, they were low frequency words and quite a few of the words were unheard of, right? Overall, I found this section to be difficult. But as far as the error detection section is concerned, or the sentence correction section is concerned, or the fill in the blanks section is concerned, 2 questions were based on fill in the blanks, 2 questions were based on sentence error correction, and 3 questions were based on grammatical flaw, detect the grammatical flaw or error detection. All these questions, they range from being moderate and difficult. But overall, if you look at the pattern of MICAT, be it the verbal ability section or the reasoning section or the psychometric test section, it was quite equally poised. The questions were interesting and little bit of practice could definitely have you back home and dry. For the analysis of maths and the other sections, I would like to invite my friend and colleague, Mr. Vikas Daya. Over to you, Vikas sir.
Hello everyone, and thank you Pradeep sir for the wonderful analysis of verbal section. Right, so let's start with quantitative ability and data interpretations analysis. Okay, and it was no different from your MICAT-1, right, in terms of difficulty level. Tricky questions, right, plus questions having 8 options. Okay, that in itself makes question difficult. Okay, but there was a change, right? A major change, I would say, that in your MICAT-1, there were 11 questions here in arithmetic. Now it was only 6 questions, right? And there was no question on algebra in your MICAT-1. So there was no question. Here it was 3 questions. So there were 3 questions on modern math, right? In your MICAT-1. So here it was 1. So there was 1 question on your geometry. Now it was 6 questions. So geometry and algebra came into picture at this time, right? Whereas the last MICAT-1, right, it was majority arithmetic only. So arithmetic plus geometry, it was still 12 questions, right? Arithmetic plus geometry, it was still 12 questions, but majority of the question, right, were arithmetic in the MICAT-1, but now it was 6, right? Algebra, modern math, and there was 1 set on DI, right? So there were 1 set on DI earlier also, but that was very easy. Now here it was multiple chart, 2 bar, 2 pi, 2 lines. So multiple charts were there, right, with 4 questions. So because of the length of the data, right, it makes it difficult. Okay. So overall, rather moderate to difficult, you can rate it. Okay. So when I compare with MICAT-1, right? The difficulty level won't be changing. I won't say that difficulty level changed much, but the topic, right? So if somebody has seen that analysis of MICAT-1 or have heard about that MICAT-1, right? There was no geometry, or rather one question on geometry. Here, 9 questions from geometry and algebra were there. But that was the okay. But I will tell you one thing here because I appeared for MICAT-1, right? And I was majority of the time, because you can switch in the sections. So I was doing majority of the time I was doing my section, that is quant plus reason, right? So I scored only 9 in quant, and that was the highest score in my, right? In the scorecard they have given the highest score in that section, that was 9 only, right? I scored 9, but 9 was the highest score, right? You can think of that I was doing only quant and reasoning only, and 9 was, I think 10 or 11 was the highest, right? Whereas I scored, right? So overall, what I want to say here is something like a score of, because you are doing all the sections, right? Quant, your reasoning, plus verbal, plus general awareness, right? So scoring something close to 4 plus in quant, or 4, around 4 plus in your LR, okay, reasoning, right? There, it will, I think, get you through this stage. Okay, with score in verbal and general awareness, you can devote time. Okay, so you could have. This was, I think, from that quant and DI, right? Okay, so it was moderate to difficult. Scoring anything 4 plus would be a good score, or when you are talking about that plus score of point. Okay, and I should tell you that their minimum score was minus something, minus 3.5 or more than that, right? It was the minimum score in max. That range was this minus 3 point range in your MICAT. Okay, and coming to general awareness section, again total 20 questions were asked. This was same 20 questions, and most of the questions match the following. So match the following, it was same. The pattern was same as in MICAT-1, right? And when the questions looks like match the following, right? Even if you know one or two or part of that, it still you cannot answer, right? Logically, you may eliminate some of the options, but if there are such kind of options, so there were more options, 7 or 8, right? Then it is very difficult to handle those match the following, because you should know all the things. Okay, so questions, some of the questions asked on books and authors, media house and owners, right? Brand ambassadors, female celebrities, thanks and tag, Punjab National Bank, right? So the taglines of the, right? Okay, again, those were in the format of match the following, right? Many questions on government policy, which of the following of oligopoly, question, COVID vaccine, those in match the following, celebrities and their film company, right? In that those pattern were match the following, and true and untrue, right? And Africa geography question on. Now, so these were the questions from general awareness. Again, I don't feel that would have scored right more marks in this section. So, right, I would say anything above 5 marks, right, would be that would get you through this written part, right? That first stage. Okay, so cumulatively you need to score in that descriptive, also psychometric test. And if you get through, I hope that you will get through the second stage. You should know that what is the shortlist, and what is the basically the final selection weightage in the final selection, right? So selection process after this elimination stage, there will be stage which will consist of GE and PI, right? And in the final selection, the weightage of your CAT, ZAT or GMAT score will be 20%, right? MICAT score 30%, GE 20% and PI 30%, right? So you need to prepare for this selection stage also, right? Wherein you need to justify why you are a suitable candidate for MICA. Because MICA, generally I feel MICA looks for creative kind of stuff, right? Some different kind of candidate. Okay. So because Mudra, and you know that Mudra, Mudra is a big advertising agency, right? So they want creative people. So here creativity in student is valued. Conventional wisdom doesn't work, right? So they look for creative people, right? So now you need to prepare for this question. Why MICAT, right? So why you want to get into MICAT and why you are the suitable candidate for MICAT. Okay, that will be thinking about, right? Justification for why MICAT. Okay, so hope for the best and all the best for to all the candidates, right? Okay, from the entire BYJU'S exam prep family. So thank you. Bye bye. Best of luck. Namaste. Jai Hind.